Both bum cheeks on the floor. Alternatively, you can just lean forward. You can hang out on the pillow. Take your time on the blocks or on your books. And that is it. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to breathe into your stretches and happy stretching.
Oranjemund was established in 1936 as a closed town governed by a subsidiary of De Beers called Consolidated Diamond Mines, or CDM. Namdeb, formerly CDM, provided Oranjemund's residents, mostly employees of the mine, with all the services that were required for the people of the town. In the 1990s, however, Namdeb began scaling back their role there. And now Oranjemund is, or OMDis's, journey to 2030 has begun. A journey that is expected to see changes that will see the town reach its full potential. Welcome. My name is Shea Ulenga. As part of a series of interviews focused on Oranjemund's transformation, we are speaking with former residents of the town that have gone on to do great things. Joining us virtually from Cape Town, South Africa, is Professor Mark Solms, currently the Director of Neuropsychology in the Neuroscience Institute of the University of Cape Town and Groote Schuur Hospital. He is an A1 rated researcher, member of the Academy of Sciences of South Africa, has received numerous international honors, published 350 neuroscientific and psychoanalytic journals, articles, and authored 8 books. Dr. Solms, what are some of your fondest memories of living in Oranjemund?
I remember best the desert. I was a child in Oranjemund, and after school I would go home and have lunch, and then I would spend the entire afternoon exploring the desert. There was a fence around the town, and we weren't meant to cross that fence, but you know what children are like. So I went through that fence, and there are these glorious golden sand dunes, huge, and they would be different, from one week to the next. The whole sand dune would move, and I would slide down those dunes, climb up them, the hot surface of the sand, and then the cold sand underneath, and all the little creatures, snakes and scorpions, and sometimes I would find skeletons of dead gemsbok and so on. So it was a one all by myself. I would just wander for 2 hours or so into the desert, and then 2 hours back again. That's how I would spend my afternoons.
It sounds like it created the perfect opportunity for a child to explore this environment. Tell us about the residents of the town and how you remember them growing up in Oranjemund.
Well, I was there from 1961 until 1973. So those were very different times from how they are today. It was a completely artificial community, artificial in all sorts of ways. You must remember, first of all, that was the height of apartheid, and Namibia was still occupied by South Africa. So all of the apartheid laws applied there too. But it was compounded by the fact that Oranjemund was so isolated and so artificially created by De Beers, the diamond mining company. So the whole town was fenced off from the world, and everything inside the town belonged to the company. So everyone's house belonged to the company, their cars belonged to the company, their furniture belonged to the company. And everyone was employed by the company. So, they were a close-knit community for that reason, because they were all kind of isolated there together. But it was also artificial in the sense that because of how things were those days, the community in the town was entirely white. There were no black people in Oranjemund. The only black people were employees of the company who worked on the mine, and they were also household staff for the senior employees. And they all lived in what was called a compound. So it was a totally bizarre world. I'll show you how bizarre it was, because the black employees were migrant workers from Ovambo land. They were not allowed to bring their families. So the only black people that I had contact with as a child were men. There were no women. I went on holiday once to Cape Town with my family, with my parents. And there, I must have been, I don't know, 6 years old or so. And that's the first time that I met a black woman. And I was stunned that you got such a thing as black women. So it was, in many ways, there was a lot about it that was from the inside. If you were privileged to be an employee of the company and to have access to all the wonderful resources, that community had a whale of a time. They had fantastic facilities, and they, I think, had a very strong social bond with each other. But it was very different if you were black.
What did you learn while living in Oranjemund, and how did the town support you?
As a child in Oranjemund, I got because it was such a vast landscape with this small oasis in the middle of it, with all of the facilities that were made available to the employees of De Beers, it was a very privileged existence. And so I got a sense of the world being my oyster. You really felt as if you could affect the world because you didn't know that there was a world bigger than the one that you were in. So I think I got a sense of real confidence, of being able to do things. And that stood me in good stead in later years. I moved to Pretoria afterwards when I was 12, and then to Johannesburg, and then eventually to London. So I slowly moved into bigger and bigger cities and got a proper sense of my place in the world. And I'm very glad I didn't have that sense at the beginning. It gave me a confidence that I think I otherwise wouldn't have had. I must add also that the school, Oranjemund Private School, it was a fantastic school. So when I moved to South Africa and to their education system, I think I was streets ahead of my peers, because the school in Oranjemund really gave me a fabulous foundation. And I eventually became an academic and a scientist. And I think I have a lot to be grateful to Oranjemund Private School for.
What potential with the transformation in mind do you believe the town has?
I think that because it was so artificial and so isolated, the company had to create a sort of a local version of everything, because we were just in the middle of nowhere, and we were separated because of the security concerns. So the town is jam-packed with everything that any town could ever want. It has everything. There's first of all, the natural splendor of the place, the ocean, the desert, the river, but then this artificial oasis, surrounded by trees in the middle of a desert, with the Pink Pan and the Cormorant Yacht Club and this grand golf course and the shopping centers. And, those days we even made our own cool drink. There was a cool drink factory in Oranjemund. So I think that the potential of the place is, if anyone living there, you're living in a town that's got everything that you could possibly need. But at the same time, it's a small town. So you're not deprived and bereft and marginalized. You have everything that you could need, but also with all the benefits of a small town. In terms of the future, I imagine tourism must be the big economic opportunity for the town. I would love other people to know this, for it to be, it's like the best kept secret. If that town could be connected to the wider Namibia and South Africa and the world, I think it would be a fabulously interesting place to live and a fabulously interesting place to visit. So I think the future must be bright for Oranje.
Having spent your childhood in Oranje, what do you believe makes the town truly unique?
A world all of its own. You know, it has everything. It has everything, and it's sequestered. You know, so it's normally such a remote town. You know, would be something pretty minimalist. You know, but because it has the richest diamond deposit in the world, and it was really worth the investment for De Beers, who those days ran the place. They made it into an exceptionally resourced town. So what makes it unique is that it is this really sophisticated, multifaceted village with water and trees and grass and golf courses and, you know, everything, but set in the middle of this grand natural landscape of the Namib Desert and along the Skeleton Coast, you know, which is so dramatic. So it's really not an exaggeration at all to say it's unique. They can't possibly be anywhere in the world like Oranje. There was a man who worked in my parents' house. His name was OMDis, and it's a sign of the apartheid times that I never even knew what his surname was. And he taught me, or he tried to teach me, to speak Avambo. And I remember one little phrase he taught me. And so when I came back to Namibia, to Windhoek, when I landed at the airport, I was a teenager, and I asked the passport official, what does this mean? With this thing I remember. So I said to her, Haiko denganenga, shishikutu dengalengi. That's what Andres said to me. And then she was appalled and explained to me what it means.
Before I let you go, there's one more question I have to ask you. What do you wish for the future of Oranje and its people?
What I wish for the future of Oranje is that others can have the same experience that we did. You know, we were such a privileged little community, but it was all set in the context of a highly artificial commercial setup, you know, of De Beers, and also the highly artificial political setup of apartheid. If a broader section of not only Namibia but also the world could have access to the Oranje that I came to know and love, then I think that if they have a childhood there, it'll be a fabulous childhood. If they set up their adult lives there, they will have a fabulous time. And if they're just tourists, likewise. So I wish the world to have the same wonderful experience that I did back in the 1960s.
Thank you for sharing with us, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Mark Solms, the current Director of Neuropsychology in the Neuroscience Institute of the University of Cape Town and Groote Schuur Hospital, and a former resident of Oranje who has made a name for himself as an author and researcher. Thank you for watching.
With trusted quality and great value on all Clicks brand products, switch and save. Buy Clicks Made for Baby toiletries from $11.49. Buy Clicks Made for Baby 240 baby wipes, $70.99 per pack. Or buy Clicks Made for Baby Dry Protect Disposable Nappies Jumbo Pack, $189.99. Clicks, feel good, pay less.
So, it's just the two of us. Can't beat this.
Beat this?
Oh, hey.
You can't beat the Champions League.
Europa League, La Liga, Serie A,
And the Premier League.
All 380 matches of it, with its own dedicated Super Sport channel, my G.
Get a HD decoder, dish kit, and 1 month of DSTV compact for only 1,099 Namibian dollars.
Oranienmoed, established in 1936, from which point onward CDM, now Namdeb Diamond Corporation, provided every service, the schooling, infrastructure and entertainment required for the people of the town. The winds of change is blowing over Oranienmoed, which is no longer a closed town.
This ship was commandeered by King Charles III, and he actually sent a knight to Spain to go and fetch some money from investors, because they wanted to go and fetch some spices in India.
When we were kids, the mine delivered milk, bread, and black paper, black plastic bags for your rubbish, and cleaned your garden, did the maintenance of your house. You had furniture already installed in your house.
Oranienmoed, established in 1936, was a closed town governed by a subsidiary of De Beers called Consolidated Diamond Mines, or CDM, now known as Namdeb, and provided the residents, mostly employees of the mine, with all the services they required, ranging from infrastructure development to providing essential services. In the 1990s, however, Namdeb, which outsourced many of the town's services, started scaling back their role in the town, and now Oranienmoed or OMDis' journey to 2030 has begun. Welcome. My name's Erica Gebhardt, and to detail the town's transformational journey into the future, we're joined by Susie Asis, a former resident of Oranienmoed who's become a star in her own right as saxophone player, composer, and educator. She has opened for popular international acts Mikasa and Joss Stone, and shared the stage with musicians such as Jimmy Dludlu, Ringo Madlingozi, and Hugh Masekela, amongst others. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Erica.
So you're originally from Oranienmoed?
I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are your fondest memories of Oranienmoed?
Well, I grew up rollerblading. We used to go rollerblading. We had a hall in the center of the town where we went rollerblading. We had sandboarding, because in Oranienmoed there's the sea, there's the desert, and the river. So it's all these three different types of nature, and so I grew up around nature. It was beautiful, and yeah, we went sandboarding. We did just so many activities, bike riding, and those are the things that I don't do now because I live in the city.
Wow, it sounds like a paradise on earth. How would you describe the residents of the town?
I would say we're all friendly because we're all close-knit. It was a close-knit community. Everyone knows everyone, so everyone is friendly, humble, kind. Yeah, just very calm kind of people.
So how did living in Oranienmoed influence your personal growth and especially your musical career?
I grew up on music, so I was taught piano at a very, very young age. At Oranienmoed Private School, we were taught, just a lot of things in the arts. Like I was doing drama, ballet, dance, many different things. So the reason actually why I'm a saxophonist today is because of my musical upbringing in Oranienmoed. I was taught by a lady named Mevrou Hannetjie Brandt, and she taught us piano, but she also encouraged us to sing. So I did a lot of competitions, and that got me used to being on stage, performing, and then that's where I was like, this is really cool. I want to perform on stage. I want to do music for the rest of my life.
Wow. So the town of Oranienmoed, it was very pleasant, it sounds like. How did the town support you?
Well, my mom worked for the diamond mining company, Namdeb, and so she worked as a doctor, and so we were supported in that kind of way where everyone received a home, medium-sized home. We had large gardens, electricity was free, water was free, and the education was really good. It was just a great time for us just to be, it was very small and close, and, there's so much attention on each student at school. And so, yeah, that's how we were supported. We just had a very good, the town itself is very, very safe. So it was just, yeah, it was paradise, I would say. Yeah.
So what potential do you think Oranienmoed has?
I think it has so much potential to grow more schools. Especially for the youth, we should have many more activities going on there. That's one thing that, as much as there was horse riding, there was sandboarding. I think that there's a lot that can be done for the youth, and we could have many more schools. I think that will attract more people to come to the town and experience what I experienced as a child, just being in a safe, good community. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And in your view, what would you say makes Oranienburg unique?
What makes it unique? Like I said before, it's got the sea. We always used to have many braais. It was a thing for us to go every weekend, to the sea. And then you have the river on the other side, the Orange River, where you can go and visit the river. And then you can go sandboarding, you can go to the dunes. I think it was also unique because, you can move from one side of the town to the other side of the town, the very, very end, from this end to that end, in under a few, minutes. So you could walk around. You didn't have to really drive a lot. We played in the parks. That was something that I found was very unique. We always played in the parks when we were done with our homework, and we just returned home before dark. And that was something special.
And I've also seen a lot of pictures where there are there's game in the streets, game in the parks.
Yes, game, yes. So we have a lot of Gemsbok walking around, and they're just like family to us. They're like our brother, sister. You just walk around, and you wouldn't be scared of them because you're so used to them. You know how they operate, and they're not dangerous if you don't go close to them. But it was just natural and normal for us to even see jackals moving around in the evening, in the night, and
wow.
So there's lots of animals in nature.
Amazing. What are your wishes for Oranienburg and its future?
To be honest, I just hope that we can continue that close community that we had when I was young. It was really, really safe. I never felt like, there were robbers or anything, and I just always felt safe around adults, around, people around me. It was just a very kind, caring community, and I hope that we can bring that back if it's lost, but also to have more of that and to show people that it's good to be in small towns and it's good to grow in a safe space. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds amazing, Susie. Is there anything else you want to tell us about Oranienburg?
I just like to say that I'm very, very grateful for where I lived. I was surrounded by so much nature. And that allowed me to do so much in the arts. I performed, on stage a lot, singing in competitions, and that allowed me to be more creative. Just being in a quiet, calm environment, as opposed to now where I'm in the city and it's so busy. There's so much things going on. There's a certain kind of energy here in Windhoek, as opposed to where it was in Oranienburg, where it was just very, very calming. So that allows you as a person to grow and to think for yourself, to be more creative. Yeah.
And I assume racially it was just harmonious out there.
I never felt any sense of racism. I felt, we were all, because our parents were all working for the same company, and there wasn't much levels. There weren't much levels. So I did feel that we all were equal. I didn't feel any discrimination. I felt fine.
Thank you very much for sharing your Oranienburg story with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And maybe you can play us a little something.
Sure, yeah.
Amen. Diabo badran, diwi go, dibadep gen, they coming, they nami, sing me try go. Diabo badran, diwi go, dibadep gen, they coming, they nami, sing me try go. I'm a claimer, Kaise du buruha, I'm a buruha, Diabo badra, Diwika, Dibadepin, they call me, they nami, sing me try, Diabo badra, Diwika, Dibadepin, they call me, they nami, sing me try. Thank you, Jesus. Date kalunga, Jehovah, uchesuame, uhiere praise, Lion of Judah, we worship you, my Lord. Our Lord, Diabo badra, Diwika, Dibadepke, they call me, they nami, sing me try. Diabo badra, Diwika, Dibadepke.